It's time to talk about Cuba.
I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it.
Today we're going to be talking about Cuba and the devolving humanitarian crisis ongoing on the island of 11 million people. Cuba is an island nation off the coast of the global military and economic superpower, the United States of America.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. I think I could do anything I want with it.
They have been under a cruel, illegal blockade by the United States of America, literally decades of an illegal blockade. Every couple years they'll vote for it, and every country will be like, yes, this is illegal, this is awful, it's got to come to an end, except for two countries, America and Israel, the real 51st state. And now with Donald Trump, he has accelerated and worsened the blockade by threatening tariffs on countries sending oil to the island. And Cuba doesn't have much in the way of domestic production. Trump essentially is starving this small island of people, presumably to try and get regime change or something. It's just to feed the American empire.
When you say Cuba is next.
Cuba.
The other day, the Cuban electricity grid completely broke down. Imagine what that would look like in your community. Hospitals, offline. Complete darkness. Is there water even? Probably not.
Now it's serious, critical, very critical. It's prone to causing diseases which are caused by garbage. Please do something about this.
Disaster. The humanitarian crisis is rapidly worsening.
Yonerkis Polo Garcia is fighting for her life at this hospital in Havana. The mother of two young boys has leukemia. Administering what in most places would be routine cancer treatments is almost impossible here.
And this is a completely artificially created, cruel blockade by the fascist Donald Trump. The United States empire has had this blockade on Cuba due to Cuba's successful revolution against the American-backed police state.
Tell me something about the plight of the ordinary Cuba. The first plight now is the lack of freedom and justice.
Canada has had friendly relations with Cuba for a long, long time, and the benefits have been great. Tourism, trade, economic ties, cultural ties. Cuba's awesome. As a Canadian, and Canadians broadly, we generally love Cuba.
And like in Canada, we find support too in the public opinion. Thousands of people shook hands with me in Canada. Many people are very nice people. We feel that very much sympathies with the people of Canada.
Canadian tourists are the single largest nationality going to Cuba a year. Everyone I hear from who's been goes, Cuba's awesome, the people are great. It's a shame what the US is doing to it. Right now, they are unjustly under a collective punishment campaign at the behest of the fascist Donald Trump. Canada should obviously be sending aid to Cuba. This is a tiny island being besieged by the world's superpower who are leveraging economic threat against anyone who tries to help Cuba by providing them oil so they can sustain their energy grid and keep people alive. Sending Cuba oil is obviously the right thing to do if you care about people, and I care about people. So what has the Canadian government done so far? They announced a single $8 million food aid package to go to Cuba in like late February. Cuba is facing rapidly worsening conditions, driven by severe fuel shortages, prolonged blackouts, and growing barriers to accessing food and healthcare. Which is like good at all. 8 million is better than 0, but it's kind of akin to relieving a siege on a castle by bringing in a Twinkie bar and being like, here you go. It's not enough, and it doesn't address the fundamental problem, which is that the American empire is literally strangling this country out of existence. I haven't seen any other announcements for additional aid to be sent to Cuba, despite them saying, we're monitoring this situation and we'll send more if it needs be. Nothing. Since February 2022, Canada has sent Ukraine more than $25.5 billion. 8 million starts to look a little bit like peanuts. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, Canada makes a lot of oil. 5 million barrels of it a day, actually. Can't we send a little bit to Cuba to help keep this country's basic civilian infrastructure running? Canada should be sending oil to Cuba. Carney's Davos speech.
Argue the middle powers must act together because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu.
I don't even know if Cuba's a middle power. They've been so devastated by the US with less people than Ontario. Obviously, he meant middle powers should assist in the siege and blockade of smaller powers at the behest of the world's superpower, the United States Empire. He meant middle powers have to stick together, except Cuba and Iran. You gotta read between the lines at the Davos. Obviously, that's what he meant. It's outrageous. The only reason Mark Carney has not sent oil to this lovely island is because he has bowed down to the American empire and Donald Trump's threats of additional tariffs on Canadian goods. This is a pathetic stance from Mark Carney, but totally in line with his CEO World Banker approach to governing Canada. Mark Carney always, first and foremost, acts at the behest of the interests of the capital-owning class. The CEOs, the multimillionaires, the billionaires, big oil, they're telling Carney, don't do anything good, don't rock the boat with the fascist because that might upset him. And Mark Carney's going, yes, 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 this is obvious. Because he's a dog for American empire, he's willing to sacrifice Canadians at the behest of maintaining the existing global capitalist order.
The coming days and months will be challenging, and they will call for some sacrifices.
All will require ambition, collaboration, and yes, on occasion, sacrifice.
Why wouldn't he sacrifice Cubans? Keep the money flowing, people. Mark Carney and the Canadian government know that they could send oil and other desperately needed goods to Cuba. Why would you, though? Don't rock the boat. Instead, Mark Carney has opted to watching this lovely island of our friends and neighbors slowly starve to death. It's gross. It's pathetic. Canada's own travel advisory says avoid non-essential travel to Cuba because of worsening shortages of fuel, electricity, and basic necessities, including food and water. They're typing out, writing this, going, yep, America's starving this small country. Don't go there. Oh, what have they done? Nothing? Okay, why aren't we helping them? Well, the CEO of the country says we have to bow down to the fascist at all costs, or else we risk additional tariffs. Obviously, it's pathetic. The Cuban people are suffering through no fault of Cuba's, and their government is trying. Canada's government knows it, everybody knows it, we're all watching it. Mark Carney should grow a spine and send much needed energy, electricity resources like oil yesterday. And let's not forget, in 2025, Cuba suffered a horrific Hurricane Melissa that ravaged the country. Now additional oil sanctions on this country that already needed assistance. Hello? It's cruel, unjust, and unnecessary. Carney is a dog to US empire. We're seeing it in Iran, we're seeing it in Israel, Cuba too, willing to throw a long-standing ally and friend of Canadians under the bus to help his capital-owning class buddies. That's Mark Carney. Pisses me off. My heart breaks for people in Cuba suffering this unjustified siege of their lovely island. The international community, especially Canada, have completely turned their backs on Cuba. Like and subscribe if you want to hear more of my commentary. Solidarity with people of Cuba, free Palestine, peace and love everyone. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.